Hey there, Stampers. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Canada. And you can find me at my blog at stampedtreasures.com. I'm here today to share this fun card with you featuring products from the Artfully Composed suite from the January to December 2022 mini catalog. So this is the bundle here. We'll be using bits and pieces from both the dies and the stamp set. We'll also be using the Artfully Composed DSP, which is part of that suite. We'll be using the ribbon, which is this beautiful frayed ribbon. That's also part of that suite. And then the last item from that suite are the faux glass, sea glass shapes, which we will also be using as well. Okay? I'll have a full supply list for this card in the description below. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, my card base is a piece of evening evergreen. It measures 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and we're just gonna fold that in half. And then I've got a 4 by 5.5 inch piece of that DSP, and it goes this way. I'm going to attach it, lining it up with the fold of the card. So I chose to cut it 4 inches rather than 4 1/4 by 5.5 so that I could get 3 of them out of the one strip, 12-inch strip if I chose to. Okay, so I'm just going to line it up, and it's not going to matter that it doesn't go all the way down to the bottom because we're going to use a border die to cut the shape of the front, or cut the front into a shape, into a point. Okay, I'll just make sure that that's adhered nicely on there so you can see that it almost covers the entire front of the card. Now I'm going to bring in the basic borders dies, and you could really use any one of these, but I'm going to use this one so that we can create this point. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of position it where I want it. I'm going to bring in my ruler, and just so that I can get it lined up evenly, I'm going to bring in a pencil. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I want it to be about, actually I might not even need to use a ruler. I might be able to just, oh, I will. Okay. Okay, so I want it to look about like that. Now this is going to cut, the cut line is in the middle of this. So I want to get as close to the bottom here as possible. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the center. So this is 5.5 inches, so 2 3/4 will be the center. So I'm just going to put a tick mark here. Let's pull out some lead here. Okay. And then I'm going to go about maybe an inch, 1 1/4. We'll go 1 1/4 inches up on both sides. And I'm going to put a tick mark. And that will allow me to line it up so that I have an even kind of point or angle. Okay. Now we're going to bring in our Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And you will need the big one. The mini one won't work for this particular project. I'm going to open my card because we don't want to cut all the way through the card. And I'm going to line up my point with that tick mark, but a little bit further in, because remember, I want to make sure that I have it cut right on the DSP. And then I'm lining up the bottom edge with the tick mark that I just made here and the tick mark that I made here. Okay, there we go. That looks good. I'm going to carefully put this on, and hopefully I don't move anything. And then I'm going to feed it through. Okay, now that will give us our nice angled front. We can move this out of the way. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? That just steps up the card, and it's such a simple step. Okay, now let's go ahead and do some stamping. I've got a 4 by 5¼ inch piece of white for the inside of the card. I've got a scrap piece of white, and then I also have a circle that measures about 1 5/8 inches. It was cut using the layering circles dies. Okay, and we're going to use the Hey There from the Artfully Layered set, and we're going to stamp it in Evening Evergreen. Actually, you know what? We're going to do Just Jade first, because that way I don't need to clean my stamp afterwards. So we're going to do Just Jade first, and we're going to stamp it on the scrap. Okay, now we're done with this. We're going to stamp it in Evening Evergreen. So because this is just a darker shade of green, I'm okay to just go ahead and ink that up. I don't need to clean my stamp. And I'm going to stamp it so that, better grab a scrap piece here, so that the word there is a little bit further to the right hand side of the circle and closer to the bottom. Don't worry about the hay. You'll see how we're going to solve that in a minute here. Okay, and then the last bit of stamping that we're going to do is we're going to bring in a greeting from the Special Moments stamp set. Now this is a celebration stamp set until the end of February, so February 28th, 2022. You can choose this stamp set for free with a qualifying purchase. So here in Canada, if you spend $120, you can choose this set for free. And I love this set because it's got so many great different greetings. In my opinion, you can never have enough greeting sets because you're always looking for the right greeting to send to the right person. So the more options you have, the better. So this one you can pick up absolutely free until the end of February. Okay, and I am going to use this Thanks for Brightening Up My Day. And I've got that mounted on a block. I'm going to use this Evening Evergreen ink. And I'm going to stamp it in the center. That G doesn't look like, there we go. Okay. So if I line it up with my grid paper, then I can kind of use that as a guide. I'll stamp that down. Okay. All right, so we've got all of our stamping done. Now from this piece, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to cut out the word hey. Okay, so I've gone ahead and done that, so you don't need to watch me do that. And now we've got a couple other things that we need to do. I went ahead and from Just Jade cardstock, I used my Label Me Lovely punch, which is from the annual catalog, and I punched out that shape. And then I also, from a piece of Calypso Coral cardstock, I took one of the leaf dies from the Tropical Layers dies. So I used this guy right here and cut that out of Calypso Coral. The last thing, actually we've got two more things. I've got about a 3-inch piece of that beautiful frayed ribbon. And what we're going to do to this is we're just going to pull the end here to fray it even more. And then I'll use my scissors and just snip so that that end is even. And it gives you this beautiful frayed edge. And then we're going to do it from this side as well, so that we have the frayed end on both ends. Snip that. And then I usually just play around with it to get it the way I want it to look. All right, so we've got that. Kind of reminds me of a mat with a frayed end. I like it. Okay, and then the last thing that I have here is I have a piece of Evening Evergreen twine that I've gone ahead and I've tied a bow. This is from the Fan Baker's Twine, which is also from the January to June mini catalog. You get 3 different spools, Misty Moonlight, Evening Evergreen, and I believe this is Poppy Parade and White. Okay, If you know me, if you followed me for a while, you know that I'm a baker's twine lover. I need all of the baker's twine in all of the colors all of the time. It's very rare that I make a card without baker's twine. Okay, so that is going to go right in the center here so that we've got a nice even border. And I just love that contrast like that. It's so pretty. Okay, so now we're going to create our focal point. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it so that the detail, the pretty detail, is at the bottom. And we're going to use some seal adhesive. Put this straight across. And we're going to add our ribbon. And then we're going to use some dimensionals. And I did have some. Here we go. And I'm just going to take a dimensional and cut it in half. And I'm going to put half at the top and half at the bottom. And then we're going to pop our circle on here. So we want it to be, we want the word there to be straight, and we want it to be pretty centered so that it looks pretty even all the way around. And then we're going to take our die cut leaf, and I'm going to bring in my bone folder and just carefully give this just a little bit of a curl. And I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive right at the base here. And then this is going to go right on here like that. And then we're going to add our fussy cut hay. That's going to go right on top. So this is how we're going to get that whole word on there. Okay, so now what we can do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to adhere this on here. So I am going to, actually I think, yeah, let's use this. I'm just going to add a fair bit of adhesive, but just really in the center there. And then we'll bring this in. And we're going to center this. So you want it to be straight. And you want to make sure that this doesn't overhang, because you want to be able to fit this into a regular envelope. Okay, I think that looks good. So that's what it'll look like when it's open, and here you can see that it's not centered. So let's just slide this over. That looks better. All right. Okay, and then we can go ahead and we can add our baker's twine bow. So I'm just going to take another little dot of multi-purpose glue, add that in right there. Add that on. And I'll probably trim these ends a little bit. They're a little long. Okay, and then we can bring in these faux sea glass shapes. And you can really use any of these colors, because this is Just Jade, which we've used. These are Pear Pizzazz, which this is Old Olive and Pear Pizzazz. So you could use the Pear Pizzazz, but I'm going to use the white. So I'm just going to bring my paper piercing tool in and grab a few different ones and just kind of spread them out here. I'll probably add 3 of them here. Maybe one right here. So it's a subtle little addition, but I just love these. You can see that I've used quite a bit of them. It's still early on. And there we go. There's our card. It's so fun. I think it really steps it up having that fancy border rather than just a regular card front. All right, so I've included a full supply list in the description below. If you are in Canada and there's anything you'd like to order, be sure to check out the upcoming classes that you can use a host code and have applied to, or my January gift with purchase. All right, you can find all of that information over on my blog, and I'll have a link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. If you are not yet a subscriber, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Take care.